We've got all night.
I know.
We're not going anywhere. We're going to sit here and ask you uncomfortable questions until you come clean. Okay? I care about it so much. If you don't let us in,
I know.
You're not going to last.
This episode was a hard watch. One, because Mel is still appearing on the show, and two, the couples on the show. It makes me question, have they been told to behave in this manner? That way we don't know who's going to say yes and who's going to say no on at the commitment ceremony or at the final vows or what? Because it doesn't make sense how everybody is off the rails and things are just going left. Alicia and David, it's really sad. I don't know whether they're doing this because this is their way to get out of this relationship, because maybe they were pretending to be a married couple, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I think David has been too sweet for his own good, in the sense that he's tried to accommodate his wife, and now his wife is got so accustomed to running over him, and she doesn't realize this. Hopefully she can self-reflect. She's an HCP, so she understands about reflection. So hopefully she can self-respect and reflect and sort of make a U-turn on that. And then, oh my God, Danny and Beck, I said this before, I'll say this again. Beck knows the buzzwords to use to get herself out of trouble and make the other person the villain. So the idea that anyone is shocked, I'm not getting it. And with Scott and Gia is giving Ike and Tina. I'm sorry, it's giving Ike and Tina. But in this situation, you know, Gia is the Ike and Tina is Scott. Because why is he so terrified that he can't even say anything? He's shaking. He's sort of like he's having a panic attack, and I don't get it. And I wish the experts had said, okay, let's separate you for now until we get to the bottom of this, because it doesn't make sense. I feel sorry for him. I really do, because I can only imagine what happened after the experiment, or after the commitment ceremony ended. Anyway, hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's your girl Valerie. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. We're still on our way to 6,000. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Married at First Sight Australia, Season 13, Episode 33. So the episode starts with the couples. Obviously, everybody's back from homestays, and they're very happy in their apartments with Stella and Philip. They're in a very good space. They really are, because at the end of the day, they got out of the homestays what they wanted, and so they've been able to see how their life will look like after the experiment ends. Rachel and Stephen, they're in their little bubble. They have very happy homestays, went very well. I think on her part, Rachel has been very accommodating, which has allowed Stephen to sort of progress at his own pace. Alicia and David was a train wreck, and I didn't expect it. That hit me out of left field. I was pleasantly surprised, because at the end of the day, I knew Alyssa was, 100 miles a minute words. And so the idea that you get to see it, oh my God. And for her to lack the self-awareness to sort of pick up on what she was doing doesn't make sense. David, she was saying she wants him to stimulate her, she wants him to talk, she wants him to open up. But when he tries to open his mouth to speak, she's over talking him. And it's like, so how do you expect him to say anything when you keep talking and you won't allow him to sort of voice his own opinion? And so she was saying, David was saying, you need to talk to me, and you need to allow me to speak as well, because at the end of the day, it needs to be a two-way conversation. It can't just be all about you. And sadly, because he's allowed his wife to feel like she's the one who has the upper hand, this is why they're in the situation whereby it's very challenging for them to sort of address any sort of conversations that might be seen as sort of, what can I say, confrontational, more or less. Dan and Beck, they're still in this space where Dan is complaining that he feels emasculated. He doesn't see himself moving into Beck's house. Beck is saying, you can pay the rest of the bills and I'll pay the mortgage. The mortgage is almost paid off. I get where he's coming from. I think, if nothing else, they could easily put a tenant in Beck's house and then get a place of their own together. That would make more sense. But I don't think Beck would want to leave her place. So they're in this no-win situation. At some point, Beck should appreciate the fact that at least he's offering to say, I want to contribute my share. He's not saying I want to be a kept man. So I appreciate him for that. I don't know whether that's a justifiable reason, but I appreciate him for that. You have Gia and Scott. Gia and Scott, they're in this awkward space because Scott has a lot of concerns that he wants to raise. But the problem is he's afraid of upsetting Gia. And it seems like every time Gia doesn't get her way, she gets upset. He won't tell us what she does when she gets upset. Even with the experts, he didn't say anything. But for me personally, I feel like there's a lot more going on there. I think that relationship is very volatile. And if Gia doesn't get her way, then things go left. And sadly, it's been left until a bit too late for it to be addressed. So everybody turns up. Obviously, they go for the commitment ceremony, and it's time, to get through the final commitment ceremony and their last time to sit down on the couch with the experts. First time is David and Alyssa. David and Alyssa are awkward. They really are awkward. You have David, so she speaks down to me. She doesn't allow me to sort of speak. There's no constructive dialogue. You was then asked for examples, and they kept and eyeing and I until eventually said, she calls me a weak man. She says she has more assets than me, and she wants me to be stronger. And so I feel like whatever has happened, I questioned this at the start when I said, how come we haven't met David's family? And sadly, they haven't met David's family. And because they haven't met his family, she feels left out. She feels like there are so many gaps in their relationship that she can't see. I personally feel like they should have gone to David's family and got to sort of meet them and see what life would look like. But maybe David's family don't want to be on camera, and this is why they're in this situation. They had this back and forth where she says, she feels like he is not sort of giving what she expects him to give. And it's like the problem with Alicia is, even in front of the experts, you could see it that they were already wasn't conversation imbalance in the sense that anytime he tried to speak, she was ready to respond. She was listening to respond and not listening to understand. And so because of that, they were in this situation whereby it was a no-win situation. They were both saying their feelings are involved, so they really want this relationship to work. Otherwise, they would have, called it quits. And I get it. They should have been open about their relationship, but I don't think they felt safe to open up about their relationship given how toxic that the ladies were towards them. And I think in trying to protect their relationship, this is why they're in this position whereby they're in a relationship that's non-functional, but sadly for them, because it's non-functional, they can't sort of address it to the experts. And the only time they choose to address it is right at the very end where, things are coming to a head. Anyway, they both choose to stay. Surprised? No. They were going to stay as the final week, and I don't think production would have allowed them to leave anyway, because they bring in, the fan base. Apparently, they already had massive social media following before they entered the show. Next up was Rachel and Stephen. Rachel and Stephen are ecstatic. They say homestays were very helpful for them. You have Stephen say, Rachel enjoyed herself. She enjoyed his passions, and she had his back. And so he can actually see her sort of meshing into his life after the experiment. He can see himself developing feelings and falling in love with her. And so for Rachel, this was very moving for her. And she became very tearful. She was asked, why are you tearful? She said, because at the end of the day, she was in a relationship with someone for 7 years, a situationship. One night he told her he loved her, and then the next day he said, no, I don't remember saying that. And so to have someone like Stephen tell her he loves her, she knows he's genuine, and she knows that he is telling the truth, and he would never say anything that he didn't mean. And for me, I think the bar is still at low. I think she needs to raise her boundaries. I think she does. Now that he's on the same wavelength as hers, she needs to sort of tell him what she wants from a relationship, what she expects from a relationship, and make sure that they're on the same page. Because at the end of the day, if she's going to be making all the compromises in order for this relationship to work, then it's going to be a no-win situation. So I really hope she does something to sort of help develop that relationship and make sure her sort of boundaries are being respected, or her wants and needs are being met. And so they said they can both see themselves, making it work. Although Rachel said her concern is she's worried that when they leave the experiment, Stephen is going to go back to Sydney and forget about her. He reassured her. He said, no, where we are now, there's no way that would ever happen. They both chose to stay. Surprised? No. Beck and Danny. Well, initially Beck said homestays were great, and then turns out Dan made a joke. He said, even if they don't work out, at least Beck's cousin has a crush on him. The experts didn't find it funny because they had asked Beck to sort of explain the joke, and so. On his part, Dan is saying he's afraid of arguments. He doesn't like arguments. He doesn't like upsetting, Beck by saying anything that might trigger her. And it's like, I don't get it. I really don't get it because yes, you're saying their fight styles are different. That I can understand. I really can understand because Beck, when she fights, she goes down deep to the gutter. She doesn't, stop. There's no bottom to Beck when she fights with people. We've seen this in the show, and Danny, I think, doesn't want to face that. This is why he's just trying to always appease her and make sure she's happy and she's at peace. And sadly for him, this is not how you build a relationship. I don't know how long that can go on for. He was asked, what are your reservations? He says he has reservations that, about telling her how he feels because last time he was in a relationship, it didn't work out very well after he told somebody he loved them. And Beck suddenly, we saw the change in temperament instantaneously because she said, oh, you should have told me that because this gives me hope and this makes me understand that there is hope, because she was saying I will never get to final vows or if you're not sort of telling me now where you stand or what your feelings are. And it's like Beck is only here for Beck. Beck wants to hear what Beck wants to hear. Even the experts were shocked because one minute she's saying I'm not staying, the next minute she's saying she's staying because he's told her what she wants to hear. I think that relationship is very toxic. She says she wants passion. She wants someone to initiate physical intimacy because every time they do that, she's the one who's having to do it. And it's like, well, the reason you are having to do it is maybe because he's not feeling you the way you're feeling him. And it's okay. It really is okay. You can't keep it stepping. You can't find your person. There's no need for you to force a relationship with this man if it's not working, sadly. And so Danny and Beck, for me, I would say no on final vows. I really would, because they're too toxic. They really are too toxic. With Alyssa and David, I think with therapy, they can work. But these two will never work because one minute they're high, the next minute they're low, the next minute they're high. It's too much of a seesaw for anyone, for it to work. They were asked, they both chose to stay. Obviously, Beck was happy that she got the responses she wanted, so she is well and happy. Chris and Sam. Chris and Sam, for me, a couple that should have never come back to commitment ceremony. Anyway, now I'm saying final vows to everyone. Well, apparently, according to Chris said, they went homestays because he really wanted things to work. He made dinner. He went around the farm with him. He spent some time with the cows, and he thought he was putting his best foot forward. Sam on his part is saying no. Chris was trying to save face. He made no effort to grow our partnership or to sort of make sure that I was satisfied as a partner, and so this is where we are. He's never forgiven me for calling out his bad behavior. Chris then went down to the gutter. Chris is friends with Beck and Gia, in my opinion, because he went to the gutter and said the SAX the second time around wasn't that great. So it's pointless. And it's like, this is the problem. They hooked up whether they were drunk or whatever, and then suddenly when they were sober, they tried it and realized I don't like it. Maybe they should have worked on their connection. They could have taught each other what the other person wants, but they should have worked on their connection first before they were physically intimate. But they decided to go down the physical intimacy route, and this is where we are in a situation whereby it's very toxic and very uncomfortable. And I am happy they both chose to leave. I'm happy they both chose to leave because it was a no-win situation. They were never going to, overcome that. Philip and Stella, the poster children for the experiment, they're in a happy space. They said, going home was amazing for them because it allowed Philip to see what life would look like post-experiment. They remind me of, what's his name? That couple from last season who was successful. That's who they remind me of. So apparently, Philip is open to moving. After the experiment, they're going to go for his mom's birthday. And then after his mom's birthday, he's going to get in the car and drive down and go and be with Stella. I love it for them. I really do. I think they are a very functional couple. I think there were issues because of insecurities that Stella had come into the relationship with. And so this is why she was sort of holding back and had her walls up. And the moment those walls came down, she is in this happy space because she says he shows up for her. He is the man that she wants. And she's happy. I love it. I really do. I root for love. So at least we have one couple that we think are like, I think they're working because I remember they posted a message about Mel. So I think they're still together and they're doing very well as a couple. Kudos to them. They both chose to stay. Amazing. And then we finally had the final couple. This was Trainwreck Station, where Gia and Scott. On his part, Scott was very nervous. I've never seen him like that. Everybody was taken aback. If it's acting, then he needs to go to Hollywood. He doesn't even need to pass through neighbors. Straight to Hollywood on a flight. Off he goes. Because the way he was struggling to breathe, and Gia had to sort of talk him through breathing exercises. Okay, take a deep breath. Okay, take it. Oh my God, what the hell was that? I don't get it. Anyway, he said he cares about Gia so much, but he wants to be open and honest. He's afraid about, about her reaction if he does open up. And so you had Alexander ask him, what kind of things does Gia say that would make you feel fear of speaking up? And he kept, and it was so scary. And I'm surprised that they allowed them to sort of sit there, talk, and then off they went. Because John in the end had to say to him, we have the whole night. We're going to sit here until you're good and ready to speak. And still he didn't want to speak. I hope the issue is just that Gia says some nasty words, and I hope there's no physical aspects to that relationship, because it gave that. It gave like there's physical situations that are happening in that relationship, plus there's verbal situations that are happening in that relationship that are taunting that man to the extent that he's that terrified he can't even open his mouth and speak. I really am concerned, because I feel like the experts should have kicked everyone out and stayed with the two of them, or they should have kicked Gia out for a bit and spoken to this man and found out exactly what is going on in this relationship, because that was scary. That really was scary, because I don't understand why you couldn't say anything. Eventually, he said she says, I'm not a provider. I don't offer her reassurance because, I don't tell her I love her, and so I don't understand what's going on. And then Gia said, well, the thing is, I told him off camera that I love him, and so I'm in the situation whereby I love someone and I'm planning on moving my daughter, and I don't want to move my daughter to someone who'll never fall in love with me. There is no hurry in you moving in with him. I've said this before. There's no hurry for Gia to move in with Scott. She can take her sweet time. So the idea that she's worried about that doesn't make sense to me. I'm just side-eyeing it. The next question was, why are you attacking him? Gia, oh, I'm worried that, I might be putting all my eggs in his basket and he's not interested. Whether or not he's not interested, that does not justify you being, verbally nasty, for lack of a better word. I don't want to say anything that I don't know. That does not allow you to sort of treat this man in a way that makes him uncomfortable, that makes him feel unsafe. It felt like it was unsafe because they both chose to stay. But then when they went to sit back down, you had Scott trying to pacify her and sort of trying to appease her. And she wasn't having it. You could see from her face that she's waiting for the cameras to go off and the mics to come off, and she's about to let him have it. She really is about to let him have it. And I don't understand why that was allowed. I wish the experts had actually said to them, tonight you're staying in separate apartments. Tomorrow we'll come down. Instead of you participating in whatever group activity, we'll come down and have a conversation with you separately and actually understand what is going on, because it feels unsafe, in my opinion. I would be safeguarding that man because I'm worried. I really am. I would be safeguarding him. I would be ringing the police and asking them to go and check in and see what's going on there, because something is not right. There's something in the water. There's something in the water, and I'm not buying whatever they're trying to give us. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Click on the link in my video to watch my review from episode 32. Bye everyone.